Everybody, let's get started. Welcome to the Volunteer Tennessee's Quarterly Commission meeting. A little feedback, but we're okay with that.
That's okay.
And I want to thank the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development for hosting our meeting today. A beautiful space for us to be, and I hope that we all feel comfortable speaking out. And that's always important, I think, for us to be able to hear all voices. We've got some important things to discuss today. And if you have some ideas, please bring those forth today. I'd like to call on the department's ex officio designee to the Volunteer Tennessee Commission, Esther Reyes, if he would like to say a few words. Absolutely.
I'm gonna share this real quick. Please do not take this or eat it right now. Well, I think they're everybody's favorite, and I want to make sure that everyone has one. And Candace, I'm gonna for you, Candace. Okay. I want to make sure I want to say thank you and good morning to everyone that is here and to the ones who are online. I have the privilege to be proxy for my Commissioner Thomas and Deputy Commissioner Scott. It is my privilege to be part of this team. And the reason I say it's a privilege in that constant word is because when we look at this candy, even though it's small, what's on it? What's it called? Lifesaver. You don't know me and I don't know you, but I'm going to share just a minute of my time. Thank you for your courtesy and the guys online. AmeriCorps has been in my life many, many times and many moments. One of those moments when I was a young man, didn't know what to do. Didn't know what I was going to do from the projects of Patterson, New Jersey. Okay. There was a principal who said, hey, I need some help getting back. Didn't go to college. I left college for 2 years for MIS with a 1.27. Yeah, if that's even a GPA, but it was. And so I decided, hey, I got to do something. I got to give back to my community. One of those options was AmeriCorps was in Patterson, New Jersey. Teacher's assistant. How could I give back? Principal Powell. Mr. Lyle shared his story today, so I knew I had to share this today. And I want to share, there are moments that when we get so busy doing these meetings, there are so many times that we're looking at numbers, that we have to do our jobs and we do this and that. I don't want to lose the point of where I came from and how valuable this was when our commissioner decided to ask, hey, good morning, has said, hey, Nestor, I'd like for you to be part of this. I know your background. And she said, do you mind? I said, no, man, you have no idea how valuable this is to me to be part of this team. And so I became a teacher's assistant through the program through AmeriCorps. And it was a lifesaver. So as crazy as all this budget constraints and all these news that are coming by, I just want to encourage each and one of us, and especially online who are not here today. Sorry, grab your own candy and enjoy it. Make sure it says lifesaver. You're a lifesaver. From the budget to Adam, Jarvis, to anybody else who's here, guys. It matters. It matters. And I'm going to make this so clear and funny. You know how many times I go out and somebody kindly goes, you need this. It's not an offer, it's a suggestion. And I said, thank you. He says, you're saving my life. So I cordially end this with this, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand, it is a privilege to be here. It is a privilege and an honor to host you. On behalf of our commissioner, please know that we really appreciate the opportunity that we to assist here in any way, shape, or form that we can. Please don't. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the lifesavers, guys. Enjoy. Thank you. So let me be real quick here. The restrooms, you can't get lost. A lot of you will you can't get lost. It's one big square. So if you go around the second time, you'll see the bathroom. I promise you. It's one big square. Lunch will be provided. It will be in the back. If you have any questions, please just ask. Water. We have some awesome, amazing water with ice cube machine right here, right against this one. It's a big old ice machine. Can't miss it. It's filtered. I promise you, it's better than PG water. Okay. Have a great day. Erin,
Thank you so much.
Miss Harry,
Yes,
we have an individual for Veterans Day who's having trouble getting into the meeting.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Shannon. Let's see, that's Rebecca Henderson.
I'm sending her, I can send it.
She's trying to call in, I think with her phone, which might be an issue, but will you send her the phone number and the passcode in addition to the Teams link?
I copied it straight from the.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Thank you, LaShawn, for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a quick round of introductions, and what I'd like you to do is to share your name, your role, and then one fun fact about yourself. We should have already been thinking about that because our interns are doing some little cute commissioner introductions, but one fun fact that will make us smile today. How about that? And if you don't mind, Nancy, would you start for us?
Don't get time to think about my fun fact.
Would you rather start?
No, that's totally fine.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
My name is Nancy Shalene. I am the representative from the Department of Environment Conservation, where I work Tennessee State Parks as a statewide programs manager. Fun fact, I love NFL football and I enjoy watching it every Sunday, not only my favorite team, Tennessee Titans, not doing so well, but I just enjoy watching other teams and good play. Yeah.
Thank you.
So before we move on to Sarah, for those of you who are joining online, are you able to hear what's being said in the room? If so, you
Yes.
don't. Okay, thank you, Heidi. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
I'm Sarah Noel, I'm Strategic Policy Advisor for the Department of Finance and Administration. Thank you all for letting me join today. I really didn't have time to think about a fun fact. So I'll just say that I am a Nashville native, born and raised my entire life here. So I feel like that's pretty rare.
Lindsay Field, volunteer Tennessee staff. I'm really at the edge of my seat to figure out what the fun fact would be for me. I really love Harry Potter and fantasy. I made that coffee. It was my first time.
Love it.
Thank you. My name is Destiny Brown. I am a at-large member. My fun fact is, on my bucket list, I want to swim with sharks. I really like sharks. Yeah. I'm learning so much about you today. I'm learning so much about you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is LaShawn Dixon. I have the privilege of serving as Director of the Office of Faith-Based Peace Engagement and Division of Spiritual Elimination at the Tennessee Department of Health. A fun fact about me, and I think some of you already know, that I love to DJ. So I just started DJing, and my DJ name is DJ Debbie, so I think about things.
Nice. Awesome.
Good morning. My name is Adam Jarvis. I serve as the Chief of Staff and Assistant Commissioner for the Department of Finance and Administration. I'm the Commissioner designee on this commission. My fun fact, an easy one, I just had a baby girl 2 months ago. And yes, I have photos I'll share. This is my first week back, so I'm digging out of stuff. Sarah will laugh at me because I've used this before, but my fun fact is I've saved a man in a Chili's.
Wow. That's more than a fun fact.
Don't know how to measure it today.
My name is Candace Taylor. Pleasure to be here with all of you as always, training and special events manager. Really on the spot here with a fun fact. I'm a skydiver.
That's mine, kid.
Pretty cool.
Trisha Powell, I had a nonprofit in National Hospital Support, just a great
Can't hear you. No, just your role and a fun fact about yourself.
Okay. Still first term commissioner, I don't know. Okay. And the fun fact, I guess, would be I adapted one of my books into a screenplay for the week.
Nice.
Mr. Reyes, I am Marcy for Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Scott. And, my role is, I'm a full service director. I manage 5 programs in the state of Tennessee, privileged to do that. And, fun fact, I am a Safe Street car race driver.
Wow.
Same as I can. Jim knows about that. Well, okay, safe because I have to prep it with safe because I do light to light on the RT 2009 challenge. So, you know, if it's a Camaro, come on. If it's a whatever fast car, the only one that beat me is the brand new stinking Mustang that just came up. Holy cow, that sucker just left me. Second gear, he was gone. I was mad. Don't miss. So anyway. Thank you.
I'm Greg Lyles, I'm a retired educator with the Northwestboro City Schools. My fun fact is, I guess I enjoy baking. Yeah.
Right, hi, I'm Lindsay Lemieux. I'm staff with Volunteer Tennessee, the AmeriCorps Program Manager. I have fun to say I adopted a dog.
Can you tell us what kind of dog?
Who knows? But like a chihuahua,
Oh, a little one.
a little dog.
Morning, everyone. I am Anthony Bennett, Assistant Process Manager for DC. Thank you for all for being here. My fun fact, I know a little bit of Arabic. I had an opportunity to go to Morocco high school, still doing there.
There we go.
Hi, I'm Jason Scott. I'm the Director of Care for People with Experience, Knoxville, Knox County Community Action Committee, the program funded by Volunteer Tennessee. My fact, I think I'm gonna not talk about, I didn't know that about you, was I was accepted for to go to Morocco, was gonna learn Arabic, but instead I went to Florida and married my wife.
It's long term in the Rachel.
I think you say that in front of her, you should, you know, leave, but I've got to marry.
She's not good.
My name's Eileen Wallum. I'm sharing the grants committee and Friends of Volunteer Tennessee. I've been on the board for 12 years. In my actual, real career, I was a technical editor for 35 years. So. My fun fact is that my husband and I do all the New York Times, puzzles every morning. And we do timed Sudoku, all 3 levels, and compete against each other.
So do you
Bit of
win?
tally.
Oh, yeah. It goes back and forth. Depends how sleepy I am in the morning.
I'm Betty White. I am Vice Chair of the Commission. I'm a retired educator. And my fun fact is, I'll just follow on. And I speak a little Japanese and I climbed Mount Fuji. Way back. Recently, not recently.
That's hard to follow. I'm Terry Silver. I am recently retired as a professor of education from the University of Tennessee at Martin. Loving retirement, recommended to everybody. My fun fact is that I almost became a communications theater major, and I'm about ready to take the stage again and doing some community theater. So I'm excited about that. Mr. Jim?
Jim Snell, Executive Director of Volunteer Tennessee. And my fun fact is that I was one of the judges of the Miss Tennessee pageant back several years ago.
I'm Jessica Youngbloom. I serve as the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, and I am Commissioner Williams' designee. I'm going to follow Adam, and I had a baby just over 4 months ago. And I've been back for about a month, so good luck, because it sucks.
Had the baby, I just experienced.
Yeah.
I was just there for
Yeah, and I also have pictures, so.
Yes, we just pass the phones around. About babies.
That does, that turns the
We
volume up
have
to
some
us.
audio issues.
Um,
On the.
That'll create feedback. I'm not really sure. Sorry again, for the folks online, we know for sure that we're having one person that's having trouble hearing what's going on in the room. Is anybody else having trouble? You don't have to come off mute if you don't want to. You can just raise your hand or do the react.
It kind
Maybe.
of goes in and out a little
Okay.
bit.
I can hear
Thanks.
fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
So a couple people can hear okay. Some people it's kind of going in and out. I think for everybody in the room, we might be able to move the owl a little bit that way, but probably not much. So if you're speaking, just speak loudly, louder than you might normally speak to make sure that everybody online can hear what's going on. I think maybe that'll help.
Yeah, she would let our people online.
Yeah, let me pull up the list.
Okay, we're gonna let our folks online introduce themselves, your name, your role, and a fun fact about you. Sure. Rebecca?
Everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. My name's Rebecca Henderson. I'm from Johnson City, and I have been on this board for about a year, a little bit over a year. A fun fact about me, it's kind of hard to come up with, but some people find it interesting that I am in the process of writing a diary from 1939, kind of a prequel to the war years, and I'm writing it, of course, since it is a diary, first person, and I'm kind of modeling my character upon my sixth grade teacher, who was very instrumental in developing my love of learning.
Interesting. Thank you. Yvonne Wood, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Yvonne Wood. I am in Nashville. I am the Strategic Support Manager for the Greenlight Fund. And a fun fact about me is that I am an avid reader, and I usually average about a book a week.
Nice. Thank you. Heidi?
Good morning, Heidi Lemming. I serve as the Vice Chancellor for Student Success and Strategic Partnerships at the Tennessee Board of Regents. Fun fact about me, I actually take vacation. Not many people do that, right? And was on for a little over 2 weeks this summer to Alaska. So that was really enjoyable.
Thank you. Kim Drake?
I'm Kim Carpenter Drake. I am, until October 1st, the Executive Director of the Middle Tennessee Donors Forum. So I guess that's my fun fact, is I am stepping down from that position shortly and will continue to work as a social impact consultant. But it's a big transition for me after 7 years in the startup with that organization.
Thank you. Katie? Go for it.
I'm Katie Goforth. I'm recently retired from the University of the South, where I first served as a VISTA manager and then was the community development director with the Office of Civic Engagement, which houses the AmeriCorps program there now. My fun fact, I recently retired and am getting ready to possibly, maybe, attend my 50th high school reunion. So it's kind of aging me.
Thank you. Suzanne Carr?
Yeah, hi, Suzanne Carr. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor to the Commissioner at the Department of Human Services, and I'm designee for Commissioner Carter. Fun fact about me, I love to travel as well. I have a group of friends, about 10 of us, that we take big trips every year. And I think our coolest trip was getting to see the Northern Lights in Iceland a couple years ago.
Nice. Is that everybody online? We're just checking one more time to see if we forgot anyone online. And I want to go over to DeShanta. We didn't want to forget you, Miss DeShanta.
I'm DeShanta Gleason, for the Department of Children's Services. Under the Commissioner Margie Quinn. Fun fact about me, I am a Beyonce lover, so I went to all of the Cowboy Carter tours that she just had.
What?
Every show.
Oh, every show.
Every show.
All right, we're gonna have a quiz at the end of the day. It's fun, very fun. It's just a lot of fun to get to know each other and some of the things that we have in our lives that we don't really get to talk about very often. So thank you so much for that round of introductions. I'd like now to call on Eileen for an update on Friends of Volunteer Tennessee.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have my lifesaver in my mouth. So the big thing that's going on in Friends of Volunteer Tennessee is that we did not achieve the number of pre-orders for the volunteerism license plate that we hoped to. We missed it by a lot. But we have some beautiful artwork for the license plates, so we decided to pivot. And we are going to have produced a novelty license plate that people can put in the front of their cars, because Tennessee doesn't require a license plate in the front. So what we did was we sent out an email out to everyone who had pre-ordered. And we gave them two options. One option was to let Friends keep the $37 that they had paid as a donation. And we would send them as a thank you gift, a novelty license plate. Hoping that they'll put it on their cars and people will find out about us that way. So we're in the process of doing that right now. Now, out of 119 people, 42 have already said that they would give the donation and take the novelty license plate, and that gives us enough money to actually pay for having the license plate produced. So we are in the process of doing that. We have already, Stephanie Davis, who's our treasurer, has already refunded the money to people who want to have their payment refunded. And we are going to be making one more attempt by phone to contact the people who have not responded, thinking that maybe our couple emails landed in there. So we've been spending most of our time working that out for the last month or two. Other than that, everything's going real well. We have a great group. We have a new member who is a community engagement manager for Middle Tennessee Electric. And he was actually introduced to Friends by Greg. And so he's been, he's jumped right in, being really active. And Middle Tennessee Electric has a foundation, charitable foundation. And so Middle Tennessee Electric is going to pay for shipping all of those novelty license plates to the people who requested. So that's fantastic for us. And the other thing is we will undoubtedly have, we've ordered 100 plates, so we'll undoubtedly have some left over, and we'll sell them for $15 at the PBSA and conference and at the road shows.
With that, why not also make like vehicle decals do other things?
I'm sorry?
Take the design and either use it for decals or clothing stuff, cause to me, I feel like it can be difficult to do the license plate thing because there's so many different charities that people want to be a part of.
Right.
And so that's the whole thing. And so to me, I'm just sort of like, why not use that to where it's like, if you've got, like, for people wearing clothes, like, you know, you got this stuff and everything like that.
Actually, not bad idea.
That's a great idea.
That's actually a
That's a really good idea.
Thank you.
We'll bring that up. We have a meeting at the end of the month.
That's great. You're helping. That's hard. That's what you got.
And level the channel, make sure it'll be a breaking out.
I got to even think about, that's so outside the box to transfer this design to another.
You never thought of keeping
So
it
smart.
on. Great.
I'm gonna work on recruiting them inside of there.
That's it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to call on Jim now for his report.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. And I'm going to do my best to try and multitask because someone else is having trouble with the meeting. So I'm going to try and copy and paste information while I talk to you all about some of the stuff that's been going on. You all probably remember that 14 out of Volunteer Tennessee's 21 AmeriCorps grants were terminated by the AmeriCorps agency back in April. The good news is that they came back and said we could reinstate those grants, but it was too late because it was April already when they told us, and we terminated all the contracts, and we checked, and it was technically, it may have been possible to reinstate the contracts, but by the time we were able to do that, the new program year started August 1st, right? So it would have been too much trouble. So, but the other good news is that the AmeriCorps agency said that state commissions across the country could fund those programs again that were terminated. And we'll talk more about that later when we get to the AmeriCorps process. Related to all of that, the Office of Management and Budget, as we understand it, is still holding part of Volunteer Tennessee's operational funding, and not just for Volunteer Tennessee, for all the state commissions across the country. It's the Commission Investment Fund, and that's the money that Volunteer Tennessee uses to pay for training and technical assistance for staff, for you all, and for the program staff. Conferences, trainings, virtual trainings, in-person trainings, all that kind of stuff is in that budget. And it was supposed to have started on July 1st. But again, our understanding is that OMB has not released those funds yet. And related, they also have not released the national competitive funds for new and recompeting programs in the national competitive process. And that probably sounds confusing because it is a little bit, but there's two AmeriCorps funding processes. There's the formula process that you all are responsible for making the decision on the formula programs. And then there's a national competitive process. And so Tennessee can send our best programs to compete against other programs across the country in that national competitive process. And if they get funded there, it frees up some of the formula money that you all can distribute to other programs. And so we get more programs for our buck, the more we can get in that national competitive process. So the national competitive process, all of the programs are on a 3-year grant cycle. So when they first get funded, they have 3 years essentially to perform. After the first year, they have 2 continuation years. At the end of their 3rd year, they have to recompete. And that's true for every program, whether it's a national competitive or formula, they have to submit a new application to get funded for a new 3-year cycle. So at the national competitive level, they've released the continuation program funding, and we've got a couple of programs that are funded in the continuation pot of money. But we have one program that was approved for funding in the national competitive process under that new and recompeting slot or component, but the OMB hasn't released that money yet. So staff are trying to figure out how we can potentially fund them in the formula process instead, but it's complicated. But we're doing our best to try and figure that out. But just so you know, that's what's going on. And as follow-up to this meeting, I'll send you all a website from Voices for National Service that has a good summary of what's going on with all of that. It just kind of explains what's happening. And again, it's a nationwide thing. It's not just Volunteer Tennessee. That's all across the country. Related to that, let's see, let me share my screen really quickly. If I can get this to work. The Senate actually, a bipartisan group of senators sent a letter to the OMB. And not that I expect you all to read it, but just so you know that the Senate has sent, again, it's a bipartisan letter. I think there are about 8 senators who signed on to this letter, asking for the OMB to release that money, not just the Commission Investment Fund, but also the AmeriCorps Competitive. There's also other funding for the AmeriCorps Seniors Program that hasn't been released yet either. This body doesn't have any responsibility for AmeriCorps Seniors, so it doesn't impact this group directly, but it is impacting programs in Tennessee that are funded through that funding stream. The other thing related to just general funding stuff is that the presidential skinny budget for federal fiscal year 26 includes a wind down of the AmeriCorps agency. So there would be essentially no money at all for AmeriCorps programs. There would be minimal amounts of money for state service commissions. And based on my just rough guess, we would go from getting about $400,000 in federal funds to about $40,000 for our operational expenses, which essentially would mean that we wouldn't have enough money to continue to pay staff, have meetings, all of this things that this body does, and there wouldn't be programs anyway. So that's the bad news. The good news is that the Senate Appropriations Committee just passed their version of appropriations for the part of the federal government that includes AmeriCorps, and it includes almost level funding for AmeriCorps. So that's good news. Now, the House hasn't acted on that appropriations bill yet, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. My guess, if you want my guess, is that it will probably be closer to the president's budget than the Senate budget, but then they'll do a conference and they'll work it out, and it may come out somewhere in the middle. So that's the funding situation for the previous terminated stuff. The current year, everybody's going right now as of August 1st, except for that one program. And then next year, there's a big question mark. The other thing that is a good note is that we should keep moving forward and keep doing stuff. And now's the time to recruit people to join this commission. So as follow-up, I'll also include the commissioner application package for you all to distribute to people that networks, and the deadline is October 1st. So there's still plenty of time for people to apply, but we need to get people to apply to be able to fill any vacant slots that we might have.
How many vacant slots do we have?
Well, that will depend on how many people don't want to continue at the end of December.
Now, no one this year, everybody's.
Yeah, hopefully.
Potentially, how many vacancies, how many terms will be ending?
Well, a third of the terms end every year.
Okay.
So that's roughly 8. And out of the 8, typically there's 1 or 2 people who don't want to continue, just based on historical precedent. So my guess is that we would have 1 or 2 vacancies.
How does that work? Once you have your last day, like, you just say, hey, do you want to continue, or do you have to put something out, or what is that process?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So what typically happens is that the board development committee we'll reach out to people whose terms are expiring and just say, hey, do you want to be reappointed? If they do, we send that, goes to the governor's commission's staff to consider the reappointment. And then for anybody who doesn't want to get reappointed, that's where we then look at those applicants. And then the board development committee will also look at those applications and make recommendations on who they think should be appointed to any vacant slots.
And this could be a question for another time, but when it comes to board development, do we have like a matrix of what skills we need, like what roles are being held, some strategic, a lawyer, anything like that, finance based? And then are we doing performance discussions on how are you showing up as a board member and fulfilling the roles and responsibilities before we offer them to fill the vacancies again? And that continuously, sorry, not just.
Yeah.
Turning out.
So the first part is we do, so there, out of the 25 governor appointed, there are roughly out of that 25, about 12 or so that have to have specific qualifications. So we have to have someone who represents the business sector. And that's Yvonne Wood, who's on virtually. We have to have someone who represents the volunteer sector. You know, there's a matrix of people who have to have specific job titles or work in specific fields, that kind of thing. The others are at large. So we do typically, the board development committee will look at like unfortunately, we almost always have kind of more people in Middle Tennessee than other parts of the state. So they look at, geographically, what's underrepresented. If there are any beyond those required sectors, are there other sectors that are underrepresented or anything that's specific that the commission wants? So if you all want specific people with specific skills, that's certainly something you all can tell the board development committee. Here are the things that we want to fill, but we also then need to go out and recruit those people.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, so we can know, like, you just don't want to ask Sally to like, hey, come be on this board if we don't need Sally's skills, so.
Yeah, well, and what we can do is, once we know, who is not interested in seeking reappointment, if there are any that are one of those statutorily required slots, we can share that with you all, because there's like 12 of them. So there's a bunch. And I don't remember where those people are in terms of the end of their term. They don't all end at the same time.
And then last question is, you said applications are due October 1st, but their terms don't end to December 1st?
December 31st.
Okay, so how do we backfill that? So if we're not gonna know to December 31st, we won't really know what skill set. So should we just go out and just ask anybody? Is that the mindset for now until we can figure out how to restructure?
Oh, well, so the applications are due October 1st, but we could work with the board development committee now to start asking people who wants to continue. And then let everybody know, here are the vacancies that we're gonna have and the types of slots that need to be filled if there are statutory requirements.
Two questions.
Yeah.
A couple questions as well. First, I want to backtrack to the letter. Do we know, I don't care about reading the letter.
Yeah.
I trust your summary.
I can
But
send
do
it
we
after.
know which 8 senators signed?
Yes.
Do we have that information?
Yes. The Democrats are on the left and the Republicans are on the right, which is pretty funny because I guess.
Oh, we don't know why.
I don't know, maybe they do that on purpose. I don't know. So, Chris Coons, Bill Caskey, Chuck Schumer, Susan Collins, Jack Reed, Lisa Murkowski, Sheldon Whitehouse, and Tom Tillis. And I can send this to everyone after.
Send it.
Yeah, sure.
And the other question I had is in speaking about new commissioners. So there's the application process, but we had this application process before and applications, I believe, sent to the governor's office. Do we have results of that or what happened with that? So do we still have the same number of vacancies or have we heard from them?
So that is a good question. We do still have folks whose terms have ended that haven't been reappointed yet. My understanding is that there was some sort of legal action, not for this commission, but against something related to another boards and commission. There was some sort of lawsuit, and that office wanted to kind of wait a little bit until that got resolved before they did more appointments. So, so we still have folks that need to be appointed for terms that ended in last December. Yeah. And there are currently 2 vacancies. In addition to the people whose terms have ended and haven't been reappointed yet, there are 2 vacancies. One is the youth slot, which is required, although we've submitted a youth to fill that slot. And then the other, you all, probably most of you remember King Reeves. He rotated off and didn't want to seek reappointment. So those are the 2 vacant slots that we have. All the other slots are filled with people who are currently serving, even though their term. So we have an opinion from the state attorney general from back when the commission was first formed that essentially said that appointed members can continue to serve after their term expires until they're either reappointed or they decide not to continue. So folks who haven't received their reappointments yet are okay to continue to serve based on that opinion, but we don't have the actual appointment yet. Is that kind of what you were asking?
Well, but also there were people who submitted applications for this current year who haven't heard.
Yes.
Oh, and the previous year?
Yes. Yeah, those are
Those are just kind of floating out there somewhere, I guess.
yes. Yeah, they are working on it because I did actually get a call from the Boards and Commissions office about 2 weeks ago asking for contact information for one of the folks that the Board Development Committee recommended to be appointed. Yeah.
Anything else, Jim?
No, I'm not trying to make an excuse for that office, but they are, I've worded this carefully, it's a public meeting, they can be a little slow, and they're working through a lot, but we can always give them a nudge, and Jim and I can help on some that are coming up that we kind of need to move a little bit quicker on. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
I don't think they manage every board and commission across the state.
Yeah, they've got, and this is one of the bigger boards out of the boards and commissions across the state. This is really one of the larger ones.
we're not alone in that, though, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's better, but we're not alone.
It's not personal.
No, it's not anything against Volunteer Tennessee. Like I said, there was the lawsuit, and then it had nothing to do with this commission. But I think it made them a little hesitant to move forward until that was resolved.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that report. I would like to say to our staff, I know that it must be so stressful for you guys, and we just appreciate you so very much. And I hope all of us on the board can continue to share our thankfulness and gratefulness for what you're doing in light of what we don't know and when the funds are going to come down. So thank you so much for being with us. Adam?
One additional question on the budget stuff, since we're still on the topic, sorry. And Jim, I should have asked you this week, but I want to echo what you just said. Y'all have done a phenomenal job of trying to help organizations move around some stuff and some dollars. They're getting creative in above board ways. So really appreciate what y'all have done to support those, and then also coordinating with them on those that we haven't heard from that are impacted on how they can sustain operations or support members until hopefully we do hear. So again, echoing Terry's comments, thank you a lot, Jeff. Do we know yet on any of either the STARS Awards program or the conference, if any of those programs would be impacted from what we've heard from the sources of funding yet?
Oh, that's a good question. So the funding for the Governor's Volunteer Stars Awards comes from the commission support grant, which has been awarded. We've got that for, and you all may remember that they did a one-time extension to move. Yeah, they did an 18-month grant because those grants previously were on a calendar year. And they wanted to move them to essentially what lines up with a state fiscal year, so July to June. And so they did a one-time 18-month extension that went from January of 2024 through June of 2025. And so the new commission support grant was awarded and is in place as of July 1st. The commission investment fund is not, and that is what covers the bulk of the expenses for the conference. So we do have some small amounts of funding left from that 18-month set of grants, but those grants both expire in December. I mean, we could ask for a no-cost extension potentially, but between the two of them, it's probably not enough to fully cover the cost of the conference. So if the commission investment fund doesn't get awarded before, roughly January of 2026, we'd be in trouble. And of course, this body would have to make some sort of decision before then, because we wouldn't want to wait until January to make those decisions. So hopefully by the retreat in November, we'll know more. Hopefully that they'll be awarded and we'll be fine. But if they haven't been awarded by, or the commission investment fund hasn't been awarded by the retreat, that's a conversation that the commission will need to have then to determine what you want to do about the conference. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thanks for those comments and those questions. We're going to move on now to some site visits. I know some of you were able to conduct site visits, so if you could give us just a brief report on your visit. Eileen, okay.
Heidi Lemming and I visited Martha O'Brien Center here in Nashville. Few months ago, seems like a long time ago. And we really had an excellent visit. I was so impressed with their program. They work in a bunch of elementary schools with after school programs. They work in some high schools as well. They had a little grocery store set up on site. They kind of converted their food security program from people, like coming up and picking up pre-filled bags to setting it up like a room grocery store, so that people could come in, and there were little signs that said, like, okay, you can take, you could take two cans or 3 cans of these vegetables, and these many containers of the shelf-ready milk. And we got to speak to the people who was running that program. That was really interesting. They had a few days a week, and they had this going while we were there. They had a diaper giveaway in the just in the main lobby of their facility. And so parents can come pick up diapers. They have a lot of other things going on at that facility as well. And we're just really impressed. The person who was the program director, it was actually her last day or her last week while we were there. And I just, by going over the grant stuff with Jim yesterday, I learned that Martha O'Brien has decided not to continue their AmeriCorps program. I feel really bad about that, because they've been, part of AmeriCorps for a long time. And it's located in East Nashville off of Shelby.
South 7th Street.
That's
where I used to, when I came to Nashville, when I came to Tennessee, that's actually where, that's where I served.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I was like, to
Yeah.
hear that,
Yeah.
that's such a crazy thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a community that really, really needs the assistance. So, I feel really bad that they're not giving it to me.
You know, if they have other assistants that's coming in and replacing that, so they feel they don't need the AmeriCorps, or do you know?
I don't know, because when we were there, I think they hadn't decided that yet. When, when we asked them, like, is there anything that we can take back to the commission? Is there anything you need? And, all these, and they were not one of the programs that was discontinued. But, all they said was, no, you guys are really doing everything we need, but if there's anything that you can help with funding. That was, that was their one. But, Jim probably knows more, and Tifa probably knows a lot more than I do, but, it was a great visit. They do great work, and,
Their only reason that they shared was just that the director had left, and they are, the person who's filling in for the director is also very new to the space. And so they just have a lot going on. They have also had like a lot of transitions with that AmeriCorps program director. Same thing with Hands on Nashville. They always had like a lot of transitions with their AmeriCorps program manager. So they decided that it just wasn't necessarily worth the effort that goes into like that type of federal grant if they kept losing the person who paid for it.
hopefully they'll be able to keep doing the work in other ways. Yeah.
Patricia, did you and Amy have a site visit?
Yes.
Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Of course, I'm gonna do the first.
Thank you.
No, I'm laughing because I didn't realize that when we went to the site visit, that there was gonna be multiple sites there.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting thing. Plus, I've never been to the University of the South. And so it was a very different experience. It felt like I was back at Stanford, the wooded area, and then also the Harry Potter field. But that has nothing to do. Okay. Sorry. Let's see, what did I do? I went to learn about, they have like the hub thing that has to do with building houses. And then the food pantry, and then it was also, something with adults, or it was helping adults. This is why I did not like being the person who spoke.
That's okay.
Speaking like this. But basically it was like, I know the first place we went to, I think, was the one that had to do with seniors and helping seniors get around and do different things. And so it was, they were talking about how without AmeriCorps, like without money, they would have difficulties with that program. And then same thing with the food pantry aspect. That was the last thing I had to see, to where it was, the lady was telling me how, there would be people who were, they'd park their RVs and walk over, and then that's how they would actually get the food, and how basically it was just, if they didn't have that food pantry, there would be a lot of people without the ability to get food. And just that whole, like, watching everything, all that stuff, just seeing all the different things, although it was also very interesting, because apparently that area is where you could go to, like, I guess, go to a dinner, you don't have to walk far, so that was very satisfying. But it's a very different thing for me, because I mean, I'm from California, but at the same time, it was just like being in this rural area to see, like, feet on the ground type of thing of like what they're actually doing. It gives you a better understanding of they're really battling, because you've got a lot of low income residents there. And so if they don't have the resources in that area, it's gonna be hard for them to get them. And so it's just kind of, it was an eye opener for that. But it was also cool to see other parts of Tennessee.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing. Esther, do you feel like sharing? Did you have a site visit to Memphis Teach for America?
I did.
Would you share a little bit about that?
I sure can. Thank you for the opportunity. I engaged with, I was supposed to go visit the city organization, but they were not able to presidential transition status. Again, transition status, because of all that was happening. What happened was, there was a miscommunication, so I traveled anyway 4 hours down there. And, the great opportunity was availed that I was able to meet with Teachers for America organization, which actually shares a space with two other organizations that are part of the AmeriCorps. And so him and I just sat down and we actually did the interview. I went through the process and I was able to gain some knowledge of another program that we support that I think is an amazing Teachers for America organization. And so it was great. We went around, we saw the laptops, the computers, the spaces, and it was just amazing. It's in Memphis, it's in the concourse, where the mall is at. So there's a high school there. It is an amazing spot, position. The buses, they have ability to use the transportation bus that's there, the city transportation, go there. It's just, I tell you what, I love visiting these places and I love the interactions I had with another organization. You know, for me, it was an opportunity to, oh, wow, this is amazing. This is what we do together. And so, wasn't able to get exactly the team or the individuals, but I got to continue to coordinate future interactions with other organizations that share space to make a difference. And they are making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have one more Relay AmeriCorps, LaShannon and Amy.
Yes, so it took place virtually on May the 14th. I want to read my notes because May the 14th seems like it was last year.
Yeah.
See you all, and it was a virtual meeting, first thing right early in the morning, but it was an amazing meeting that we were able to have with their manager and then their program partners and staff, as well as their department chair. They are excelling in several key areas that I wanted to make sure that I did mention to you all today. One, strong member development and support. And so their program offers a robust training and coaching, equipping AmeriCorps members with effective teaching strategies and real-world classroom experience. Their members report feeling supported both professionally and personally. They had a survey that was conducted and they were able to show us all the data and the results from that, which helps them to grow as educators and maintain motivation throughout their years of service. Positive student impact, once again, through that survey, the AmeriCorps members are making a noticeable difference in the lives of students, particularly in under-resourced schools. They support in academics, mentorship, and classroom engagement, and helping to close the opportunity gaps and foster students' growth. And then effective partnerships. They have built strong relationships with local stakeholders in the area and are planning to continue to have that integrated smoothly into the school environment and the collaborations with our agency, Volunteer Tennessee, and shows that they cross the partnership that enhance their educational outcome. They also have a commitment to the word that I know we're not supposed to use, equity. But they emphasize diversity, equity, and inclusion in their recruitment efforts and their models, making sure that they are recruiting individuals and members that reflect the community in which they serve, which is very important. And that they mentioned that several times, just to help address systematic disparities in education. And then the last one that I thought was very important, clear pathways to teaching careers. And so many of the AmeriCorps members are using these experiences a lot long-term careers in education. You know, we need amazing educators out here, which are helping to streamline aspiration paths for teachers, especially those with diverse and non-traditional backgrounds. There are a couple of things they really wanted for us to know additionally to really help. And of course, some of these areas we've already kind of talked about funding for and then strengthening the recruitment and retention efforts that help attract and keep more qualified members. And so those are just a few areas that they mentioned, in addition to expanding mental health and wellness support for members to help them manage the emotional demands of the work that they put on those members. But overall, it was a great, like I said, virtual meeting that we had. We had a teacher that was actually able to come on in between her schedule and kind of talk about the program and how it impacts students' her life. And that she's actually going to go into full-time teaching. I think this fall, she's supposed to. So.
Thank you.
I was told about her.
They were in Memphis, Shelby County. So they have, and then they have the National Classical Charter School where we had the observation of the member direct serve. And so that was Shannon Dillon.
Thank you. Do we have anybody online that wants to share anything? I don't want to leave anyone out. In case they want to say anything. Okay. All right. Thank you for those reports. It's good to hear about what's going on. And of course, we all know we need money. Okay, we're going to now go into our quorum check, and I'm going to read the statement of necessity. Make sure that we have a quorum. There are currently 24 voting members, so we're going to need 13 voting members for a quorum today. All right, Jessica, would you do a roll call quorum check, please?
George Bovee, Destiny Brown,
Yes.
Kim Carpenter Drake,
Here.
Stephanie Davis, Ethan Farner, Terry Frank, Amy Gillians, Katie Goforth,
Present.
Rebecca Henderson,
Present.
Andrea Hill,
Andrea sent me a text saying that she was gonna join around between 10:30 and 11. But she's not on yet.
Holly Jones, Amy LeGrone, Lizette Lopez, Greg Lyles,
Here.
Lee Moten, Patricia Powell, here, Jason Scott,
Here.
Terry Silver, here, Tracy Vandevate, Amy Walter, Betty White, here, Eileen Woolen, here, Yvonne Wood,
Here.
Suzanne Carr,
Here.
LaShawn Dixon,
Here.
DeShonta Gleason, here, Adam Jarvis,
Present.
Caroline Ludley, Heidi Lemming,
Here.
Nestor Reyes,
Here.
Nancy Shalene, here, Jessica Youngbloom, here. That's it.
Okay.
What's your count?
Here, and then
Online, there should be
11
total.
voting members, yeah.
So we're short two. So we don't have enough to vote.
Okay,
So we don't have a quorum.
all right.
I can quickly reach out to,
Okay.
the other folks who aren't on.
So that everybody can hear, we're not sure that we have a quorum, so Jim's gonna reach out to a couple of people that said they would be here and just see what's going on. That's what we're doing presently.
Actually, just a break for us.
Yes, let's look at the time. It is 10:37. Can we be back in, 10:45? Thank you, Mr.
And for those of you online, we're gonna take a short break while we try and figure out quorum.
About not being able to get one, is that low too?
She did. She got $100. I sent her the information. That would only bring us to.
I was just eating, pooping, sleeping, all day.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, Rebecca is still here.
This one's slap.
So,
I think this one.
This is this one.
yeah, we've got you, Rebecca.
She didn't have a name until the day.
Okay.
She was still baby girl.
Baby girl. I mean, I could have been on the first
I mean, if we
meeting.
can wait
I
till-
can dark.
Let's jump back on and we can wait till 11. Like I said.
Yeah.
So she go ahead. Okay.
If there's any business we can do, that's not made bad. Or do we have to have everyone come on?
Yeah. Oh, no, we could move on to,
I just love it from the back.
yeah. Which is the state. State service plans.
Yeah.
Babies? No.
I never smell baby. I don't do that.
No, that's fair. I wouldn't want you to.
Yeah, you know, like that's weird.
That's required.
You know, like you could just.
Yeah, my, I didn't know that was a baby.
But the state plan is just.
Like,
6 years old.
it wears out with it, I feel good now.
So like.
I'm doing.
Oh, I think that's.
That's a parent thing. You know, I don't say no, so I think that'd be awkward.
Even a second.
I don't doubt.
They're different.
Don't start. That's all right.
It is.
One foot out on your shirt.
She's about to be 3.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if she. You should
It feels good. I'm gonna say, did she get you there? I wish I took all my money. I said, who needs a savings? I don't need no savings. Oh, I wish. I was so much. I'm a very poor financial girl, right? With my head. I've seen Beyonce once, and I cannot do it. She don't pay my bills. I need my bills. Why you just broke me down, man? I didn't do that. And you guys see this now. That's the my life. Yeah. I saw this. I said, let me see the video.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's pretty more than my net not go out. And he gets
But I wonder if part of the course she's on like the beach, she's like, all right, I'm thinking. Atlanta.
Monday, yeah, Monday.
I'll stop that. They drove us, you know,
The first show, like, people think. The next one, they don't have
Oh, I know.
Yes.
See, the girl looked at home, this section, really about $10,000. But then she said, all the team.
I would like lose this and it's like our.
Wardrobe thing, like, she has the thing.
But it's confident. We're gonna call this meeting back to order. We're gonna continue at 10:45.
Taylor Swift, and I think that was good in respect to her. She didn't know that. She ain't never had to make something up.
So we're waiting on a couple of people. We've got one that says they'll be here shortly, and we're waiting to hear from others. So we're gonna move to the things that we don't, or we're not gonna be voting on today. And once those folks show up, then we'll go back to those things that we have to vote on. So that means we're going to go down in the agenda to our state service plan discussion. Yes?
And let me,
We're gonna skip lunch today.
no, sorry. Let me,
Bring your brown. Bring your brown bag. Bring your brown bag.
let me share my screen again with the folks online.
Okay.
Okay, and then,
In your packet, you have a Volunteer Tennessee Commission 26-28 State Service Plan Framework. So everybody should have a copy of that. There. Perfect. All right.
Oh, sorry, for the folks who are online, I put the link to the commission, resource page in the chat earlier, but I'm gonna put a specific link to this document. If I can get back to okay, this is the state plan document that's projected. It might be easier for you to pull it up on your own computer rather than trying to look at what's on the screen.
Jim, would you like to lead this discussion?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I just realized, I got something blocking the screen. Okay. So the draft goals, you all may remember that from just general work that the commission had already done. And then there was a group of committee chairs and then committee chairs plus one that met to kind of refine the goals. And then we got feedback from the committees on the goals. And so each committee had a meeting where they talked about the goals and worked to develop potential outcomes for each goal. And we did a public survey where we requested input from the public on the goals and potential outcomes. And we did a survey to commissioners in case there were folks who weren't able to participate in those committee meetings so that they could also give their input. So the goals are what's bold and numbered. Underneath is a little bit more explanation that the committee that was working on this developed for each of the goals. The yellow highlighted, those are sample outcomes from previous Volunteer Tennessee State Service Plan plans that were relatively close to the goals that the commission has developed already. But those are just suggestions. They're just to get people thinking about what potential outcomes might be based on what the commission has had as outcomes in the past. Below that is the input. And there's a lot for some of them and not quite as much for some of the other ones. So you can see that the first goal has, roughly a page and a quarter of input. The second one also has quite a bit of input. The third one has a good bit as well. And then the fourth one, I think, has some, but not quite as much as some of the other ones. So the task now is for the commission, and hopefully folks had a chance to review this before the meeting, to have at least passing familiarity with some of the proposed outcomes. Out of all of this input and discussions from you all today, the commission needs to start narrowing down what it wants outcomes to be from these goals. So for example, the first goal is supporting a robust network of volunteers and service learners. That's a great goal, but how does that get translated into something that can be measured? And that's the outcome. The outcome is something that can be measured. And again, the yellow are samples from previous plans. The stuff below that is what's come out of the input from the committees and the public.
Just for clarification, does this include what the Foundation of Service that went through a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, it's in here. Yeah. Yeah. What I did, for the stuff below the stuff in yellow, you'll see after each thing, there's a set of parentheses and it's got BDC, which is Board Development Committee, Communication/Strategic Partnership. That's the combined big committee. Foundations is FSC, Foundations of Service. And then GC would be Grants Committee, but I think Eileen was provided input via the survey, I think. So.
I did.
Yeah. Because Adam was on leave at the time, so we had a small grants committee. So, and then if it came from the commissioner input survey, that's there. And if it was just general public input, that's there as well. So that's how you can tell where the suggestions came from.
And this is me just trying to recall, is this verbatim what we wrote, or is this like simplified, like the notes from our last meeting that we had to recall?
It's pretty close to verbatim, but I may have moved things around because I tried to group things together.
It's just hard. It's not a you can, this is a me.
Yeah.
In my brain.
Yeah.
It's Jim's brain and trying to pull out.
Right.
Even though you just told me, I'm still behind. So
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
I tried as best I could to group things that were similar from the committee work and the public input. Where there's a, sorry, I'm going to show you all visually. For the folks online, I'm sorry, I'll do my best. So for this first page, there's the stuff that starts right under the underlying proposed outcomes. All of those things are fairly close, including what continues on the second page. And then there's a little bit of a gap. There's a space. And then there's another list of things that are fairly similar. Then there's another space, and then another group of things that are fairly similar, et cetera. So I did my best to try and group the public input like with like. It's probably not perfect, so you will almost certainly find things that look like they should be grouped with something else. But this was just kind of my best guess at where things kind of fit together. So for example, on the second page, that second thing, it's like Tennessee's volunteerism rate will increase by some number. Then there's another one, Tennessee's volunteerism rate will increase. Volunteerism rate will increase. So there was a bunch for that. And I think that's because that was one of the sample outcomes. And so again, that's how the grouping works. So things are kind of together. That made sense to me. It might not make sense to you all, and that's totally fine. If you want to regroup it, we can do whatever you all want. And that's true for each set of input under each goal. Things that kind of, at least to me, made sense, I grouped together. Now there, you'll see on the second one, there's not a whole lot of things that are grouped together because there were a bunch of like kind of one-off things that didn't, at least to my mind, really fit well together. I think that's the only one though where there were a bunch of things that were just kind of really somewhat unique, at least as I saw it. So for the things that are grouped, that makes it potentially a little bit easier in terms of looking at the things that are grouped together and thinking about out of those things, is there anything in there that you all want to have as an outcome? So on that, again, on that first page for goal 1, and remember, it carries over onto the second page a little bit because I couldn't squeeze it all on the front page. But all of that stuff, you know, Tennessee Serves quantifies number of volunteers, this hours and numbers of volunteers, volunteer and service hours, Tennessee Serves participation. It's all about participation, kind of specifically with the Tennessee Serves network, but then also kind of generally for volunteers, of capturing volunteer hours and numbers of volunteers. It's kind of that just general category. And that second grouping, again, is more about for the state in general, that the state's volunteerism rate will increase by some percentage. Then the next grouping is about the Governor's Volunteer Stars Awards. And there's a couple of one-off things. So you all can choose all or none of these. Now, if you choose none of them, then you'll have to come up with something else. Because again, the goal for today is to come out from each goal with at least one outcome. You don't necessarily have to have more than one, but we do need at least one outcome for each goal.
And like for the first one, we have 3 outcomes right now, sample outcomes that are highlighted in yellow.
Yeah, and again, those are just from previous plans.
Right.
So they don't have to be the ones that go into this next plan.
Okay.
Folks online, did any of that make sense? At least a little bit.
I think we all want to see our volunteerism rate increase. I think that's so important for the state of Tennessee. And I don't know, do we have a current number right now of our base point? Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I believe it's 38% of the non-incarcerated adult population. I'll look that up really quickly though.
I like the connection with Tennessee Serves, but one of the things that I think is a challenge, and I think we can do it, I don't think it's a problem, but how do we connect with that Tennessee Serves? How do we get the organizations? Like you can't just go in and put numbers in that you're doing unless you're registered with Tennessee Serves, is that correct? Like that organization has to sign up.
So
Tennessee Serves and then people can sign up.
well, we're trying to figure that out because I think Tracy was able to go in and register as a volunteer and then put in her hours as a commission member for the last board development committee meeting.
But I thought she said that you had to go in and put something in for her to be able to do that.
Well, again, that's the part we need to figure out.
So, but I think that's a great idea to try to figure out how we can, 'cause I don't believe what we're getting is accurate. I don't think that 30%, 38% is accurate because we have so many volunteers that we don't know what the hours are.
Yeah, let's see.
I mean, it's a great base point because I feel like we can jump from there and go up higher.
Yeah, it's,
But,
it's 32.2%.
and I remember that it was low, but I'm not sure that it's that, but still, if there's a way that we can figure out how.
And that's a jump from the last time they did it, because the last time they did it, I think it was maybe 28%. It was in the 20s. So Tennessee did go up pretty significantly from the last time. And in fact, I think that percentage actually ranks Tennessee I think about 24 in the country.
Better.
I would like for us to be in the top 10. Yeah.
Is it better to, in terms of percentages, do we want to say increase by a certain percentage or increase our 32.2% up to 50% or 45%? Is there a better way, statistically speaking? I don't know. Who's our math people in the room?
Statistically.
But let me also give you another.
Sorry, you're looking at me. I work for finance, but I'm not.
I'm not that person.
Come on, Matt,
I'm the operation.
Sorry. You're absolutely right.
I
So-
agree, but somebody has to be that person that knows.
This kind of sets back the discussion a little bit, but how can we realistically have an outcome like volunteerism rate for the state of Tennessee that we can
Have ownership over.
confidently? Like, what I do like about things like Tennessee Serves is it's a platform that we control. It will never capture 100% of the volunteerism in the state because it is not the platform that 100% of people will use. Working as an intermediary with partners, some of them, it's cumbersome for them to enter that information in our program because they already have other systems that they like to use. And if they didn't partner with our program, they would not use the Tennessee Serve system. You can come to them and say, hey, please use this system. It's just another time that you have to enter the same thing. So like, I like the aspiration of increasing volunteerism for the state of Tennessee, but at the commission, I think the type of thing that we have control over is like outcomes that are related to the actual activities that we have, like the conferences, the technology platform that we control. I think building numbers around that, so because we can pull those numbers, and then when they increase within those systems, we know that it's us. Throwing that out there before we put too much math into like figuring if we want to increase volunteerism to some percent that we can't, it just feels like we can't tangibly know that we're influencing that specific percentage.
Can we do something like make the outcome more specific to Tennessee Serves? So by saying, as of January 1st, for example, 25,000 volunteers were registered with Tennessee Serves. As of December 31st, 58,000 were. And that's a number that we can access and control. And, I do other volunteer things, but they're not listed on Tennessee Serves. So, but we can capture the changes in Tennessee Serves.
And maybe there are some other, well, like you said, GBSA or the conference, there are some other things that we also can capture those numbers.
Yeah, numbers of counties participating.
But we could also, I think, because we're working in conjunction with Tennessee Serves, like we're not in control of Tennessee Serves, but we are working in conjunction.
So we have partners that are part of the Tennessee Serves Network that are local volunteer centers in Chattanooga, Memphis, Knoxville, most of the larger cities, and then a couple of the more rural parts of the state. And then there are counties that are not covered by one of those volunteer centers, and that's Volunteer Tennessee's responsibility to try and get the word out to nonprofits in those communities to sign up and then get volunteers to utilize it.
So one of my questions then was, could an outcome be the number of organizations that are on Tennessee Serve, that are using Tennessee Serve, for example. So if we do actively go out and we get other organizations to sign on, then that number will increase. Like trying to spread the word that this is a network you can use.
Yes, that's possible. And not to split hairs too much, but that's more of an output than an outcome. Because an output is something that just is like a count of things that happen. The outcome is like what you want to have as a result of that, which even, technically the volunteerism rate increasing is technically also an output. But it's a big one. It's a big output. But you could have as your outcome could be potentially increasing the volunteer rate, and under that there will be outputs. So there will eventually be outputs under all the outcomes. That I don't think is the discussion for right now, because we need to focus on what the outcomes are going to be and then plug in the outputs later. But yes, you could have, and Kim's on the call and can speak up more, but I think she would probably agree with what Jason said, is that Volunteer Tennessee needs to kind of focus on what Volunteer Tennessee can control. And just as a side note, Utah has the highest rate, and their rate is 46.6%. And they're.
So Jim, I'd already unmuted myself.
Yeah,
in
go
my
ahead.
Enthusiasm to participate in this. I wonder if this conversation doesn't give us some guidance of what you were just saying, what are the things in which we have any control or influence. So if part of what you're measuring that you're reporting as an outcome is not as a result of the work that you're doing, it's interesting, but it doesn't drive the work. So it seems like it would be helpful if we thought of two things. One is, it sounds like it's a pain point that we do not have access to a platform that is universally used for this purpose. So maybe that is one of the strategies we take on in this next plan, is to explore ways to gather more robust data. And then the outcome of that is the ability to better coordinate the information that drives the work. And then the second one is working within the data we are currently able to collect and influence. The current status is this, and our desired change in that is an increase of X number or X percent. Like you said, I think it's interesting to know what we believe the overall volunteerism rate might be. But if that doesn't all live within the purview of the places we can make change, then it doesn't really drive the work. It's not strategic.
Sorry. Stating the obvious, I also want to caution against I think Kim was kind of going in this direction too, about us remaining focused on what we can control. Tennessee Serves in terms of the First Lady's initiative. She's leaving office at the beginning of 2027. So I don't think we have a way of knowing if that particular initiative will continue in the First Lady or First Lady's office. So I don't want to wet our plan too heavily on that.
Correct, but the portal will continue. The portal, funding there, that is, I mean, we have to have the funding to do it. But if the funding's there, the portal will continue. Now, after the current First Lady is no longer the First Lady, this group could have a discussion of whether or not you want to continue to call it Tennessee Serves, the portal, because that name, you all, those of you who were around at the time when we launched Tennessee Serves, remember that the First Lady was gracious enough to allow Volunteer Tennessee to call its statewide volunteer portal using the same name as her signature project called Tennessee Serves. And that's what Adam's talking about, it is, you know, is probably not going to be continued in the next administration. At least probably not under the same name. But when that happens, does this group want to change the name of the state portal? That's a discussion for later, I think.
It's hearing what we're all saying. It seems like that this is an area we should focus on, is Tennessee Serves. And I know Betty said, maybe comment about, increasing, awareness of Tennessee Serves and those who use Tennessee Serves. That might be a place to have an outcome. Businesses, people, volunteers, maybe more awareness of that portal. Is that something that maybe we could buy into for an outcome here? Because we don't know what's going to happen with our funding. And so for us to dream too large, it's probably not wise for us at this time.
Two thoughts about that. It's Kim again, sorry. One of those thoughts is I would encourage what Jim was just saying, that, you know, any strategic plan is going to have to adjust for the external factors that impact our ability to stay on that particular course, good, bad, or indifferent. And if we go down that rabbit hole, I think we could stymie the ability to be strategic by trying to predict the future perfectly. So I would say give ourselves grace that we don't know the future, and a plan isn't meant to be carved in stone. It's meant to be adjusted over time based on how reality changes. So that is one thing. The other is I wondered if maybe part of that strategy could include not just increasing the usage of Tennessee Serves, but exploring how that can partner with some of those organizations that don't find it viable. Like, I wonder who else could part of it be, who else is collecting this data, and how can we collaborate on a larger data set? It just seems very linear to say only we want people to use our stuff if we already know that there's some folks who won't. Maybe there's a different way to do it.
Good points. Thank you. Does somebody else have a comment? Sorry.
It just was the second point of Kim's. I was just putting off what Jason said about, we don't want to add another to-do list for nonprofits to use Tennessee Serves. So if there's a way to collaborate with other portals that are already being used. So I'm the one who said Tennessee Serves should be used more, but if we're not collaborating, if there's a way to just figure out what we can do together, that might be better. Like, how can we support them with what they're already doing? Let's support the portals that are already being used, with the idea that Tennessee Serves may not be Tennessee Serves, and that might need to be our backup plan, so we don't have to worry about funding. You know, like, just go ahead and jump in on it before we have to do it.
Okay.
What does that look like?
So can we look at maybe two outcomes? One on increasing the usage of Tennessee Serves, and also strategic partnerships with other platforms and with other organizations that are using different platforms. Could those maybe be two of our outcomes? Somehow write those up into outcomes?
Well, just this one focuses, well, based on the work that the committee did, focuses on the volunteers. Mm-hmm. And the second one focuses on the organizations that support volunteers. So that's where the partnership part probably fits a little bit better.
Okay. All right.
So the other thing that I'd point out, just for consideration, is something that Foundation and Service Committee put out there on the second page. It's that first dash: engaged and consistent Tennesseans, volunteer members / participation. We need some wordsmithing a little bit, but that might be a potential outcome for this goal. Just broadly, you're looking for engaged and consistent Tennesseans to be engaged and consistent volunteers. Something along that line. And then then how do you figure out how to measure that? Could be measures that are tied to the portal and part, data that we get from elsewhere that shows increases in volunteer rates or something.
And building on that to give some clarity on that. So the first one that says engage and consistent Tennessean volunteer members. What we added to that, so you to better understand what do we mean by engaged and consistent, is volunteers who are initiating to volunteer more than one time a year. That means you're consistent. And then we were talking about all volunteers from youth to older Americans. So, youth to older Tennesseans. And so that's what we mean by engaged and consistent.
Gotcha. Sorry, I like copied and pasted from the notes for most parts.
We've been over here like discussing like, what is this, like, how was that? And then we just figured it out a little bit ago, so.
Okay.
Well, and I think with that, though, you could actually then use data from other nonprofits as well, like with Hands on Nashville. They have their whole organizations set up, portal stuff, and it's like, you can get data from that, but then also you have colleges where they have their different volunteer programs and different things. So that's what I was thinking, like, and when I had done the survey, it's, you go to those places because otherwise we're just replicating work.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing twice what you do, go to the places that are already having this stuff happen. So that way you're getting real-time data because this is, like, the schools are keeping this data as well as any other, whether it's Hands on Nashville or any other place and all that stuff.
And Hands on Nashville is actually collaborated with United Way now. And so
Yeah, I know.
but I'm saying, so that's perfect because that happened with them is that they had their own portal. And United Way was like, hey, how can we collaborate together? Let's move our portal together.
Nice.
And so now United Way has all the data, not just from Nashville, but across Tennessee and Tennessee. And so we can just use them anyway.
Well, and the company that does the software for Tennessee Serves, it's called Galaxy Digital is the company. They have bought the Hands on Connect. Now they're not fully integrated yet. But so Hands on Nashville is not currently part of the Tennessee Serves network because the Hands on Connect system provided them with functionality that at the time Galaxy Digital didn't. And they didn't want to lose that functionality. So they're not currently part of Tennessee Serves, but with the purchase, my guess is that at some point Galaxy will make all of it fit together and that we'll be able to bring hands-on into the Tennessee Serves network and be able to capture their data.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how long that'll be before that happens, but.
So how do we feel about taking engaged and consistent Tennesseans, volunteer members' participation over to the outcomes as our outcome for goal number 1? I mean, it seems like everything that I'm reading here could fall under that for outputs.
We would have to add language to it and
Oh, yeah.
put a percentage to it, but I don't see why.
Do we have to have a number for an outcome?
This
No,
one is engaged and consistent
That's be able to measure.
participation, but it doesn't say anything about increasing.
Yeah, so we would have to add language to
Yeah.
increase engagement.
Yeah, and
And I think wordsmithing, but also we were being realistic when we were there, like, if we can't provide what we need now, why are we, like, if we don't have what we need at the moment, if we're continuously to increase, we don't have the capacity to even give you what you need. So what if we just hone in on what we're doing right now? And that was kind of what we came through of like, we'd love to increase, but then they get there and we don't have everything put together, right? So it's like we're adding eggs to a basket and there's a hole in the basket. And so that's why it was more like engaged and consistent. What are we doing well? We use this data to then help us increase next year because this is a yearly plan. But I think increasing is very important. So we want to add that. We definitely can, but I think we should think about then what does that look like with our current capacity? How do we increase?
Thank you for context.
Yeah.
Do we have a wordsmith?
Staff has to do this, you know what I mean? Like, we make this out, but staff has to go in and figure out how have the capacity to increase this.
Thank you. Lizzie?
Yeah, on that point, so staff capacity, so if we're measuring something, what are we measuring? Like, it's a great idea for us to connect with every nonprofit in the state and get all their data, but that's like, that feels unrealistic. So what, like, can we put something out to Tennessee Serves that would measure how successful or like how well we are serving the programs that we're already serving or something like that? Like, what can we measure within the programs you already have instead of creating a new measurement?
So I think that goes back to the bullet point of volunteers who are initiating to volunteer more than once a year will be engaged and consistent. Because if you're only doing it once, that's probably you're part of an organization that says, hey, let's do Martin Luther King Serve Day. We all show up, like, which is fine, keep it up. But if they do it more than once, we would have that Tennessee Serve, like we'll see their name more than once on the same.
Yeah, so we would just connect it to engaging consistent volunteers through Tennessee Serve.
And then while we're doing that, hopefully we can go to, we do the collaboration.
That would be on goal number 2, right?
Yeah.
Where we're talking about that. So, okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is that we want to possibly, if you guys agree, engaged in consistent volunteer member participation. But we also want to increase the use or increase, what do we want to increase with Tennessee Serves? We want to increase the use of, I need to go. Because I think we need to keep moving.
Well, we do. So I'd also say I think what Jessica said earlier, the outcomes ideally do need to be measurable, but we don't have to figure that out right now.
Okay.
Especially if it's stuff that we need to do research on and get data for and that kind of thing. And to be honest, there were too many things here for staff to try and provide data on all of this stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. But we can, I mean, once we narrow it down the focus and know where the commission wants to go, we can start bringing in the relevant research and data of what is available to then inform what the actual numbers might be for the measurement part of it.
Okay.
So I would say if you want to have just an outcome that's kind of generic, but doesn't necessarily have a measurement on it right now, that's okay.
Okay. Do you guys feel comfortable with this one and where we are and allowing the staff to look at that and maybe wordsmith it a little bit? Move on to number 2? Or do we need to discuss more goal number 1? I know our time's kind of getting away from us.
So I think one of the challenges of thinking about strategic planning this way is it's a really big departure from how we've previously done it. A lot of this is a lot more integrated. Like when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking of what y'all do, right? Like, I mean, you do AmeriCorps, Tennessee Serves, GBSA, TCD, XL. And the 4 themes essentially are how are we doing these things to enhance volunteerism, partnerships, awareness, and internal capacity and operations. So, I mean, realistically, you could almost be like, okay, so AmeriCorps, let's think about members, let's get a performance, output and outcome in the first category, and then like partnerships, let's look at how we want to address partnerships through AmeriCorps, how we increase awareness around AmeriCorps, and then like what kind of internal systems can we use to support the board to be successful, and then just kind of going through those key initiatives that we do, because that's what we do every single year, you have control over. I don't know, it's just a statement because it feels a little bit like part of what's happening here is like it's just like a different framing. I think, and it's easy to be kind of like, well, like let's just kind of get out of sync with it. So like we're talking about Tennessee Serves for the first item, but here, I mean, the first item is the volunteers, like so number of volunteers, frequency of volunteerism, that kind of thing. But then Tennessee Serves is also going to be under orgs, same type of thing. a number of organizations, number of counties represented by organizations, and then, you know, how awareness is, it's all gonna come back to those key initiatives. So like, we can have that one item, but that's just like one piece of it still. I mean, we still got, how are we dealing with volunteer slash AmeriCorps members from that kind of distinct program in the GBSA? Like, how are we, what's the volunteer base role?
Yes, you're right.
It doesn't give you an item to write down.
But it's a direction, I think, because if the overall structure is engaged and consistent Tennesseans, volunteer members slash participants, and I think maybe they're the comma between volunteers, members. I don't know. Should there? I don't know.
We're trying to find the original note, but we don't have.
I could probably get them in a second. But if that, and again, we could wordsmith it, but if that's the kind of the overall outcome that the commission wants to pursue in the next 3 years, and then we can look at, like, what are the AmeriCorps numbers that fit under that for the AmeriCorps members? What are the governor's volunteers? Because the governor's volunteer stars awards is under here too. What are the governor's volunteer stars awards numbers that fit underneath that? What are the Tennessee Serves numbers that fit under that as outputs that lead into the outcome?
All 95 counties actually know about the, I'm gonna just say the acronym. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So early on, staff and interns did a lot of work. But letters from the governor at the time went to every single county mayor about the Governor's Volunteer Stars Awards. And so, you know, we've consistently over time been continuing to go back to counties that aren't participating to try and find someone in that county to take the responsibility to do it.
Got it.
But it's where we've been at kind of the 65-ish number for a while.
I just asked because before being in AmeriCorps the second time around, I didn't even know about volunteers. I didn't know about any of this stuff. And so that's what I'm wondering is how many, like, what is the percentage of people in each of the counties that actually know about any of this aside from the acronym, or like just like the mayors and all that stuff that you said? And so I guess that would be the question of, as we're trying to get all this stuff out, what do people already know about it? Do we know, do we have any data?
It's Kim again. Could I make a proposal? I apologize. That if we are in agreement on the spirit of intent of the goal and the key strategies of it, could we charge our wonderful staff team with coming back to us with recommendations for measurements so that we, in the spirit of time, get through the big buckets?
Can
I have a second for that.
Yeah.
But I would, but before we're not really gonna vote, but I'd like to have some input from the staff. Please.
It is a valuable conversation. It's just also a rabbit hole with time
Absolutely.
constraints. So I
Absolutely.
was trying to figure out how to balance those two.
What I will say about the staff, I think it's important. I think your recommendations are important to us because you do the thing, you measure the thing. So knowing what we should be aspiring towards measuring is kind of right connected to the work that you are doing. So like the spirit of it,
Yes.
being engaged and consistent Tennesseans, you know, volunteers, members, participation, I think the spirit of that, and being able to understand, like, when you're coordinating GBSA, you know, like what kind of numbers do we have? Like, what is aspirational? What is realistic? Because, like, I don't know, I mean, maybe every single county is realistic, or maybe that seems like a bit of a multi-year strategy. So the goal should be something department size. So, but I think, yeah, to that point, to move things along, I think the spirit of that goal seems good. I think understanding realistically, what the work entails and what current performance would be helpful to get outputs to go with it.
Are we? Okay, so we're good with that. All right, let's move to number 2. Let's go to the next one. Building capacity for volunteer success. We've talked about that briefly.
And again, this one was intended to focus more on supporting organizations as opposed to individual volunteers.
So is this where we would put a statement about parking with other platforms or on the phone that capture that?
And I'm sure Foundations of Service probably has a really good statement here. We can just find it.
No, we have to have, we have to, out there, yeah, I was like, no, I swear, Stephanie talk.
Dusty, I'm gonna send you the notes.
I got them now. I got them. Thank you so much. Because obviously I wasn't taking notes like that.
So speaking to the spirit of goal number 2, we're looking at partnerships, basically, right? Are we right about that? Partnerships? Is there maybe something we can say here that would generally overall put partnerships for increasing volunteerism here?
Sorry, I just want to throw out a comment from Rebecca. She's participating online, but I don't think she's able to use audio. So she sent me an email, which I think kind of fits into the community part. But she's saying that something that's needed in the Johnson City area, and probably other areas too, is that a community type calendar. Well, she said they have a community calendar, but it's hard to follow and navigate. And this was in reference to someone who, I think it might have been Patricia, said, not all communities know about Volunteer Tennessee. So a way to kind of get Volunteer Tennessee out there. Sorry, I just wanted that comment out there.
And we are hoping to increase awareness through our road shows. If you are keeping up with that, we did cancel the one that was scheduled for July, right? Is it July? Yes, because we only had a couple of people say they were going to be able to, and we just felt like we didn't get the information out in a timely manner. So we pushed that one forward to October. But we're hoping through those 3 at this moment, one in Clarksville, one in Jackson, and then one back in Swanee. That's right, Swanee, yeah. That may help.
Well, and see, that's what I was saying, so, Vanderbilt and one of the other colleges, they're gonna have a service. So it's have a table event there, not, and do like, have the road show go through the college areas like that. Because that's where you're gonna get all this stuff, because it's like, as we're going through this, we don't have any data. Like I was telling her, I feel like we need to go like section by section. Each meeting, I mean, it will take longer, but like this happens every meeting.
Yeah.
Notice we always get stuck on these little details, but without the details, we don't know where to go.
So you have any data, yeah.
So for the purpose of this, I think we've kind of moved into the 3rd item, which is awareness.
Okay.
A little bit, right?
All right.
Now I think we're trying to find the outcome equivalent of like the first statement that we agreed upon for members, volunteers. And you know, the types of things we're looking at with this for outcomes, the organization will have resources to host, manage, and retain volunteers efficiently and effectively. Speaking for like organizational capacity building, And again, I think this goes back to like, once we kind of present that general direction, I think we get down to this and we're doing our board retreat, like finalizing all that, hopefully the kind of big picture will help staff back to us with like the baselines so that we can come up with the realistic outputs to go with those outputs. So like, but I think what we're really looking for in this one to progress to the kind of the outreach is the, like, what is the kind of guiding statement we want for how we interface with partners versus volunteers? Like what is the results? We're wanting volunteers to be engaged and consistent, increasing consistency. So for partners, you know, what is the vision?
So maybe kind of adapt what we've already said into the partnership piece from goal number 1.
Go ahead.
Please.
No, I just chuckled because you said we were saying that's why
Yeah.
we laughed. And
Yeah,
then,
that's how we laughed at you.
then we both
We're
started.
laughing at you, we're laughing, because that was exactly what we were about to say. And so,
What do you have? Yeah.
so yes, that's exactly what we were mentioning, right here. And so I would pose that we do take an opportunity to look at these resources that we are currently already have, and also noted that the funds going to come, so we don't bust down the rabbit hole again. Also, so I want to mention that if Yvonne Woods has put some things in the chat too, as far as just information for number 1 and number 2, that I want to make sure that we're being brought up to speed on.
Yeah, I was just gonna put that out. So for one, Yvonne said that she liked the Tennessee's volunteerism rate will increase by at least 40% by 2028. And then she says we can work on ways to gather that info, Tennessee Serves, et cetera. For number 2, she says this is where we can focus on the partnerships and increase the use of Tennessee Serves.
And then if we just make the outcome, the organizations will have resources to host, manage, et cetera, we can move on.
Okay.
Because as we move on, that then becomes staff's responsibility to tell us what they hear from being boots on the ground.
Okay.
What they need to know, like, we're governing and not operating in it, you know, like, because they're in operations.
Okay.
We're kind of skipping the North Star and they'll tell us how to get there.
I like that. Okay. Is everybody good with that? Okay, let's move on to number 3.
Wait.
Oh, did we come up with the North Star?
Yeah.
The second one.
I think
What we got?
Organizations
we'll have the resources to host, manage, and retain volunteers efficiently and effectively.
And then the data will come out. By increasing by how many percentage or whatever the offer tell us what that looks like.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, let's look at number 3. Maximizing the value in communications and partnerships.
One thing I'll point out, this doesn't have to do with the outcome per se, but someone in the public input had a really good suggestion that, 2026 is going to be the 250th birthday of America. And that this plan maybe try to tie into that in some form or fashion as a strategic way of building on what's already happening. And there's some examples there, like, plant 250 trees, challenge kids to read 250 books in a year. That to me seems a little little high, but you know.
That means nothing back today. I know what you're saying.
But anyway, but just to keep in mind, as something that is gonna happen in 2026, we're got, you know, regardless of what happens with this plan, that's happening. So there's ways that we can build on that.
And that seems like it could be a campaign.
Yeah,
That
sure.
that could become kind of output oriented.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For outcomes, I mean, I feel like a lot of the outcomes that are proposed here feel more output-ish action items.
Yes.
But the sample outcomes above, increasing awareness of volunteer Tennessee and its initiatives, increasing the visibility of service and volunteerism statewide, that kind of.
That's exactly where Betty is.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that kind of feels like we're the.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't properly credit that. Rebecca was the one who suggested that 250th. That wasn't a public comment. It should have been.
Well, so she kind of better. All right. You do your job well, you get.
Credit to Rebecca on that.
Okay, so we're looking at, you see 3 on the left side. So over on the right side, what Jason and Betty were just referring to is increasing awareness and engagement across the state.
And I think it's important to note that it's volunteer Tennessee and
Right.
also.
Name recognition too, yeah.
Volunteerism service also. It's something I go back and forth with. I think, I mean, it is a shame that nobody knows about volunteers. You could also be doing a really good job being unknown after programs. You know, so maybe like in terms of priority, the programs are effectively increasing volunteerism, service and partnerships. Maybe your own personal brand will kind of carry itself through the programs. I think that's getting.
Well, actually, Latifah's, we saw her interns give their presentations, is it yesterday? And one of the suggestions was that our brand looked same. We've got so many different things out there. I loved what your interns did was branding some of Volunteer Tennessee. We're talking about the license plate, and it's now gonna be the front plate. So we're positioning ourselves to increase awareness. I think we are.
Maybe I should get your look. Oh, no, that was me just saying, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I
That
thought you-
was just me.
Could we use that piece there that we just talked about for number 3? We feel good about that?
And that was the increase awareness of
Uh-huh.
Volunteer Tennessee and its initiatives.
And awareness and
Engagement,
engagement.
volunteer Tennessee.
Mhm.
Okay, so increased awareness, engagement of Volunteer Tennessee and its initiatives. Okay.
The ways that you can make it where you're not having the staff do all the work, right? You give the partnerships, like that thing about library and how you can post stuff. You have the library staff, you have the different organizations that you partner with. They then take on some of that heavy stuff. So that way other things can be worked on by volunteer staff.
Yes.
Maybe we can do some branding training.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Maybe we should do some branding training, like train us
Yes.
before we go out.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Wear your polos.
All right, let's look at number 4 because we're going to have, our next discussion is going to be committee work and committees, and that's going to be an important discussion we have today. So let's look at number 4, operating with excellence. I like the first one. Skilled and knowledgeable commission. What'd you say?
Maybe a little biased, I like the first.
Well, I mean, it's making it so that we can be successful.
Yeah.
And you mentioned branding or other things.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what we do and what we do, and we do what we can do.
yes.
I just really love the good succession plan, and we don't have them as we continue to talk about terming out and who's gonna fill these roles. I think that'd be fun.
I mean, maybe the vision is a skilled and organized, knowledgeable mission, but a succession plan. would
Is
be
that,
part of it.
once you know what you're doing, you can then talk about it, so someone else can
Right.
feel it weirdly.
I vote for that.
And no one has to feel like they have to be on the board for 25 years, and no one else can do the job. You
Yeah,
know, it's like,
exactly.
we've been trained, someone else can step in and think.
Well, and I think the other piece of that, being, I don't know how long I've been on the commission now, but we've had, I think, 3 different people for the Foundations of Service of staff members. And every time we have a new staff member, it's like starting from ground zero.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Betty, I don't know how we would get where we were going, because she's the one person that's been here.
We had 5 different staff people since I've been here.
Yeah, so I think that succession planning would be key in our operating with excellence. So just to further that note.
Is there not documentation that gets passed to each? I know maybe it's too like too simple. Like so with junior league, you could, depending on committees or bylaws, you could have things that just from one year to the next, you pass that information on. And so I'm wondering, do we have like the SOPs where we just have from one commit, like as each term or however that works, that you can pass to each year term? Anybody else?
Well, I think it makes sense. We understand.
Well, yeah.
Board training.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
let's-
manual.
Yes. Yes. Glad you can.
What I will say though, speaking towards turnover, even if you have SOPs, changes in staff are just inherently disruptive. It's such a bad. It's
Yeah.
just difficult to, like realign, like strategic planning. How does this work? How is my brain supposed to organize this information? Or they're like, how are these relationships functioning? But I do think, in agreement with like having, making sure we're doing our welcomes in a timely manner, and maybe there's some intentionality. But, we do it right. Okay, a priority for us in this plan is better brand consistency. What is that? What is our brand and what are the colors? That kind of stuff. Are there templates? And then the types of activities that staff or work in turns or any. It'll help staff also understand how.
Are there SOPs?
No.
So there we go.
Well, there aren't SOPs, but what each committee does have is their routine plan. And we haven't really focused on that very much this year because we're in the midst of doing the big 3-year plan. But you all remember those spreadsheets that have, inputs, who's responsible, the outputs and the outcomes for each committee has a very detailed list of things that they're supposed to be working on. Again, we haven't really focused on it too much this year because of looking at the next 3 years. But every committee has one of those. And that guides the work of the committee outside of the state plan, because there are things that need to happen every year from the committees, regardless of what's in the state plan. Like the board development committee every year has to review the applications and make recommendations of who should fill vacant slots, right? That's a routine thing that's in their plan.
Yeah, I think what needs to be included in the succession planning is, because I agree with any staff transition, there's going to be a little bit of level setting. I think it's the historical stuff of why we're doing things.
Yeah.
And the way in which we're doing them, because it makes it difficult to know, well, can we change this? Or does it have to be this way because? And so I think that, I know with Foundation of Service, that's difficult because of the annual conference. There's so much that goes into that historically that we want to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with what's supposed to be done, but also bettering it where we can, improving it where we can. So.
But I do think that looking at our goals and what they are, and then the different committee structures or team structures and what everyone is looking at, contributing to that and how we are going to formulate teams that are actually going to work on fulfilling specific goals and looking at those needs is really going to be helpful.
Yes.
I think we're at a real pivotal time right now based on my experience. And with the input we're getting from everyone, I think this is really helpful, and you're leading the discussions and having the discussions.
I think,
Well, we used to have a mentoring program that Board Development Committee organized and monitored whenever new people came on board. And I think that was pretty helpful. I'm also, you know, it would be nice if we could go back to that. And the other thing is, maybe we should have like a mentoring program for individual committees. So that if we have a new person comes to join a committee and they really have no clue and they kind of go to a half a year's worth of Zoom calls for committee meetings and ask a lot of questions. And it would be helpful if there was one person on that committee who could initially sit down with them. I agree. I mean, it's kind of a detailed point, but I think that might be very
happen organically in some cases. Like I say, Anthony has definitely been there and supported, and then also just having these mentors around me, especially when I came in, because I didn't know anything. I didn't even know about that volunteer Tennessee even existed, just to be honest. And so, I think our first conference or training session we had that weekend, I learned a lot. And so I think it's happening, but it may not be happening in all of the other meetings. And so I think putting something to paper.
Yeah,
and then letting
I mean,
people
if
know about
it
it
wasn't,
would
if it
definitely
wasn't
be beneficial.
action item
Yeah.
on the action plan.
Yeah. So I move that we do move forward and conclude our discussions for our state service plan at this time for proposed outcomes so that we can.
Well,
Voters, do we have a quorum yet?
not yet. But so before we break, I want you to think about our next discussion, and that is committees. I want to tell you this, the board development has 6 members, communication has 6, strategic partners has 9, foundation of the service has 7, grants 2. So we really need to have a good, robust discussion about how we're going to now make teams or work on these goals. So it is a quarter till, let's take 15 minutes and get our lunch, go to the restroom, say hello to each other, think about what we just said. Let's meet back here at 12:05 with your lunch. Sound good? Everybody online? Okay, here we go.
And I'm gonna stop the recording while we take this short break to get lunch.
I'm a.